AI art is still quite a big topic on the internet. There are still many artists, understandably, worry about getting replaced by AI. Aside from all the ethical debates surrounding this topic, I am not a big supporter of using AI to create a painting, but I'm also a practical person. If AI can indeed do exactly what I want it to do and do it better than me, I would have to accept the fact that yes, AI can replace me as a painter. So I did a bit of an experiment and I want to share the process with you today. Hi, this is Eric from Cafe Watercolor. It's been a while since I put out a video. I feel like taking a semi-sabbatical with my channel this year. I still paint and I still do demos for my Patreon community, so I am still somewhat active as a painter, just not a YouTuber. That being said, about a month or two ago, I was looking at Instagram and seeing some AI-generated image. They are getting scarily good. Around the same time, Nvidia stock was going up like crazy. So AI became a very hot topic again. I'm not a tech expert, so I am not going to talk much about the technology and the future prediction of AI. I simply want to share with you my experience using AI, specifically Midjourney, to create a watercolor painting. I want to share with you the type of results I got and compare that to my own painting. So Midjourney is a generative AI program that can generate image based on the user's prompt. So basically, you type in a stream of instruction to tell AI what type of image you want from it. And within minutes, you can get very high resolution image. And as you can see here, you can get some amazing results. And the quality is very high. The AI itself is quite advanced now. You can actually feed it with images and ask it to mimic the style you gave. So people use this AI to generate specific style images. Well, I have this photo I took during my trip to Japan last year. It is in Nihonbashi area. I love this scene. When I took the photo, I knew I wanted to turn it into a painting. Now to me, this is pretty straightforward. When I took the photo, I composed it in a way that will look good in a painting. So all I really needed to do is to use this photo as a reference and just paint it. I wanted to capture the light and the water movement, but since Midjourney cannot simply take a photo and turn it into a painting, I have to type in prompt to tell AI what I wanted to paint. I need to try my best to let it know what I had in mind. I can provide an image as a style reference, so I use my own painting. So in the beginning, I prompt a wooden boat on a river under an overpass. The result was hit and miss. I got some photoreal images, a sort of watercolor sketched image, to something with a face. Odd. But okay, I probably wasn't specific enough, so after spending close to 30 minutes typing out different prompts and being as specific as I could, this is the long prompt I gave. Under a large overpass, a wooden boat with a small cabin, there are two yellow lanterns attached to the edge of the roof of the cabin. The boat is in the bottom right corner of the foreground, docked under the shadow of an overpass next to a dock. The boat is 30% of the image. The overall color of the image is slightly greenish gray. The boat is facing front, with bright, slightly warm light from the background, looking from a higher ground, painted in clean and simple watercolor. And here are some of the images I got. Honestly, these are good paintings, and if I don't really have a specific picture in mind, I can totally see them as a nice watercolor painting. But that's just it. I want to paint this scene, and despite me trying to describe the scene as detailed as I can, I am just not able to make AI do exactly what I had in mind. When the AI gets the position of the boat decently close, the direction is off. When it gets the direction right, the size is wrong. When the size is right, it is in different eye level, and so on. Now, to be fair, Midjourney cannot just take a photo and turn it into a painting, so without a photo reference, it cannot paint exactly this scene. But again, they are good looking paintings, and we can nitpick on them all day long, but the fact is that someone with no painting experience can prompt a few words and get this image. That's quite impressive. But I realized that while AI is good at producing image, you can't get specific with it. If you have a clear picture in mind that you want to make, AI won't be able to do that for you. So I did the painting myself, and I can tell you this is much closer to what I had in mind because, well, I painted myself. Of course, as an artist, I always have a better picture in my mind than what I can actually paint. But I can at least say it is 70 to 80% there. So in conclusion, AI is a good painter, or rather someone who is very good with Photoshop, but very hard to communicate with. My painting skill might not be as good and as fast as AI, but I know what I want. And as my painting skill improve, I will be able to paint something closer to my vision. However, if we just don't look at the result at all, I still had much more fun creating this painting than that painting. It's much more fun for me to hold a paintbrush, mix color, doing washes, and interpret what I see in my own way, rather than just typing words with my keyboard and selecting images with my mouse. And that's something AI simply cannot give me. It cannot provide me the fun and enjoyment of the painting process. So I would like to show you the process of this painting, and I hope you enjoy watching my painting process over AI's generating process. Before we start though, if you like this video and you want to support my channel, consider giving it a like and subscribe. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so start off with a line drawing. As always, I sped up this part quite a bit because the whole painting took me about 3 hours, almost 4 hours to complete, so I am not able to show it in real time, otherwise we'll be here all day. So in short, I start off with a dull 4B pencil, trying to block out the basic shapes and their sizes and placements, and also trying to block out the basic perspective. The perspective is a simple one-point perspective despite the complexity of the overpass. The light source, which is the light area in the background, is also where everything is leading to. That's where the vanishing point is. So I made sure I had that in. And like I mentioned, this photo was taken last winter when I was visiting Japan. This is the Nihonbashi area in Tokyo. And I came across this scene and I really love it. In the midst of very busy cities such as Tokyo, it's very interesting to come across this very calming and just beautiful, quiet scenery. And the wooden boat also really caught my eyes. I thought the boat looks very interesting, aesthetically has this very traditional wooden boat look. And after research around a little bit after I came back, I found out that this is actually like a tour boat that people can ride and enjoy the scenery and tour around the city along the river. So quite interesting. So here I starting to focus on drawing out the structure of the boat. I used the ruler a little bit just to help out so that I can make sure that the edges are going along into the vanishing point. And now clean up a little bit and I switch to my mechanical pencil. The lid is much thinner so I can make some much sharper lines. Now I started to slow down and start to draw the details. And here I slow down the video to real time so that you can see how slow I'm actually drawing this. I don't draw very fast, I just try to sync a little bit before I put down a mark. A lot of time a loose painting isn't really about painting very fast or drawing very fast. It's about you sync twice before you put down a stroke. And usually your drawing habit is going to carry over to how you paint. So for example, when you slow down and draw a certain part of the painting, you will likely paint slower when you reach those parts. And when you draw with confidence and fewer lines, you will do the same when you are painting. But if you don't have confidence in your line work, you try to build up a single line with tiny little pencil marks, you will tend to do the same when you are painting watercolor. you will try to build up a shape with tiny little brushstroke and you start to dab your way through. And that usually will result in a painting that looks too dirty or complicated. So it's okay to slow down if you're not really sure, but once you are sure where you're going to draw the line, then have confidence and draw a nice clean line. That's why when you see me painting, you might see me ghosting over the brushstroke that I'm going to paint a few times before I really put down the brushstroke. That's because I try to prepare, try to practice a little bit, and also try to imagine in my mind what that brush mark is going to look like. And when I'm certain, then I put down the brushstroke. And now I'm starting to clean up the line work a little bit, erase some of the dirty graphite that I put down with a dull 4B pencil. And now leaving with a nice clean line drawing. Here I have masking tape. I want to mask out the rim light on the column for the overpass in the background because it has a very nice sharp highlight on the side, and I want to use masking fluid for that, but I want to make sure I have a nice clean line. So I tape both sides to create this little line shape and apply masking fluid over it. That way, after I apply the masking fluid and remove the tape, I will be left with a very nice clean line of the masking fluid. So I use a pen-shaped masking fluid from Schmincke, and it is very useful because I don't need to use a pen brush to apply it. I can just squeeze it out and apply it. I do use the type of masking fluid that requires a brush sometimes as well. Mostly is when I need to paint some bigger organic shape with it. But here it's just a handrail, just a column. I will use this pen-shaped masking fluid. And now the masking fluid is dry, spray a little bit of water, then I start to do my first wash. I pre-wet the background first. I want to have a nice soft background lighting. The first wash is all about light and atmosphere, so I pre-wet it, and when it is still wet, I paint some color of the light in, and it's going to be nice and soft. And I will pre-wet outside of the light shape as well because everything else is going to get covered by darker value anyways. So don't worry about when the color of the light get to other places. You can essentially cover the whole painting with different colors of light and wait till it's dry for the second layer and third layer to cover them up. So here I start to paint some color of the light. It's mostly very warm, so I use some Hansen yellow, some cadmium orange. And as you can see, when I put down the warm colors, it spread out very naturally. It becomes this nice soft light. And when you're painting the color of the light in the first wash like this, it's kind of an odd feeling because you are painting against white paper. And watercolor is dark from light to dark. So unlike oil or acrylic, where you work from dark to light, you're painting the light on it. Here, you are actually painting the color of the light, and you need to kind of get ahead of yourself and imagine what it's going to look like when you are painting darker values. So painting the light value, you are actually painting directly on white paper. So in terms of value, it is actually darker than the white paper. So it can throw you off a little bit. So that's why when you're working with watercolor, you need to have a plan. You need to have an image in your mind and able to predict how it's going to work out when you are painting a certain value and color. Now, this is simple enough because I have a photo reference that I pretty much just trying to recreate that scene. But you need to form a plan to help you to reach the result that you want, to create the image in your mind. So here you can see me starting to paint different colors, the turquoise, greenish color on the top, and also I start to connect the wash down and give the first wash for the water surface. The water surface is much darker because of the reflection, but it still has some light. And to get the color of the light in the first wash is what we need to do right now. We can paint with darker value later. And before it is completely dry, I do some wet onto wet, add some more layering, and just add a little bit more interesting colors and textures. So all the process of the painting is what makes watercolor fun. It can be stressful at times and it can be a little bit difficult, but that's the thing, enjoying the process, learn to work with watercolor and learn to take risk. And a lot of time that experience is just not replaceable with any other way of creating an image, especially with using AI. So now I paint the second layer, and you might see the photo is a little bit lighter than before because I adjust the photo. I realized that I probably not able to make the watercolor as dark as the photo in some of the areas, so I just lighten the whole picture up so that I can see the details in the dark a little bit better. And I won't try to desperately paint everything so dark later on, because the darker I try to paint, the more layer I might need to lay on it, and it might start to become dirty. So the second wash, I am starting to paint the overpass. I lay down the shape, and before it is dry, I start to paint some darker values on it. If you squint your eyes and look at the photo, the overpass area, aside from the reflection of the light, it is one single shape. Despite there are a lot of details within that shape, if you squint your eyes, it pretty much merged together into one shape. So that is what I'm doing. I'm painting one single shape, and I'm trying to handle a little bit of details and different colors by painting it wet onto wet. And now the wash is damp, which is a good opportunity for me to start paint more details, but it's still going to come out soft. So that is great. That is actually what I want. I want some subtle details that doesn't jump up too much. It melts within the bigger shape. There are a lot of structural details on the overpass, and I am not going to try to copy all those because that's just going to take too much time, and I actually think it will look too busy. So I just try to hint the detail by maybe skipping a little bit, try to create some incidental highlights. And now I use a darker color, and again paint wet onto wet, get some occluded shadow in. So here is the real time. You can see that I try to approach this a little bit more carefully, not just putting down brushstrokes without thinking. And I also try to vary my brushstroke a little bit. Some brushstroke is a little bit quicker, a little bit bigger, and some brushstrokes paint smaller shapes and also slow down a little bit. Overall, I'm just trying to create a little bit more sophistication when it comes to painting this bigger shape. So adding a little bit more detail with the tip of my brush. And you might also notice that I try to vary my colors a little bit when I am painting one single shape. So you see some warmer color around the edges because there's light in the background. And there's some cooler colors. They'll blend with each other in this big shape. So it took me a while when I'm doing these washes, not because I paint a lot of details, but because I will change color at times, trying to get a little bit more richness within the wash. And now the wash is pretty much dry. I'm starting to add a little bit more darker details for the overpass. And again, I am not able to just paint all the details, so I will do a little bit of hinting by painting some shapes here and there. So here we go, painting some dark shapes, leaving out some highlights, and that's about it. So I work on this area for quite a while because I do want to make use of the moist and damp stage of this wash. I want to be able to paint some soft details, and I can only do that when the wash is still moist or damp. I can re-wet them and paint over them, but that will take more time to do, so while I still can, I will just do some wet onto wet. Now add a little bit more abstract detail in the background, just to hint the structures in the background. Some other columns and overpass and stuff like that. And I connect those shapes into some reflections in the background, but still keep the background relatively light. The background is the light source, so try to keep it as light as possible. And now I start to work on the building on the right. And while at it, I start to paint the foliages, the plants on the wall on the right. Adding some dark to the plant. Just continue to work my way down. At this stage of the painting is actually quite challenging, especially mentally, because you are looking at the painting that's not finished yet. The overall value and big shape is not complete, so you might look at this painting without enough contrast. And whenever that happens, you might feel like your painting is not going anywhere, it's not going well. But you have to keep going, have faith, and just endure. Believe in your plan and continue to paint. And you need to trust that when you paint the darker value, when you finish the shape, the painting is going to look nice. So here I start to paint the side structures, the handrail and stuff. Quite a bit of details, but again, some of the details I will just hint it. Okay, now I remove the masking fluid to reveal the nice sharp rim light on the column. It's very subtle detail, but it does make a little bit of difference. And now I start to paint the gangway next to the boat, where the boat is docking. And again, think about how the shape is going to work. When should you paint certain shapes? I leave the big reflection on the water to last because I want to finish all this smaller shape first. The reflection is going to be a big shape and I need to finish it in one go. So I'm painting the boat, quite a bit of a detail on the boat, but I'll try to simplify them a little bit, but I still try to preserve as much detail as I can. And if you've been watching my recent video, I know I haven't been putting up a lot of videos, but if you see my recent paintings, whenever I have time, I will paint the painting with a bit more details. Like I mentioned in my previous videos, I try to look for a style that I can kind of call my own. And I am not trying to deliberately create some very unique look, but I sort of go back to what I like, such as Japanese anime and things like that. I love those very detailed and just quiet background. And that's something that I want to recreate with my painting. So while I'm not going to paint as much detail as those backgrounds, animation backgrounds, but I still try to convey the similar mood and feeling with my paintings. So I want my painting to look nice and quiet, very calming, and with enough detail for people to look at it a little bit more closely. So that's why you see I paint quite a bit of details on the boat. I'm still trying to look for a nice balance between painting details and painting loose. So I am not going to say that I found it yet. I think it's going to be a constant process of exploring. So now I start to work on the reflection, start from the columns of the overpass, painting the reflection, painting the ripple, and I try to make sure that I don't make them too complicated, but just enough detail and breakage for it to feel like the water is moving. It is pretty tough because if you don't really be mindful of the shape that you're painting, it's very easy to get into repetitive shapes, and your reflection can start to look too busy. Continue down, and I constantly check my shape. If some shape needs adjustment, I will need to go back immediately before it is dry. Once it dries past a certain point, you won't be able to go back and adjust the shape. Because the wash is dry, whatever you paint on top of it is going to become a separate shape. So even when you're painting a smaller shape, always keep an eye out on the overall shape of the painting and see if there's anything needs adjustment and try to paint it before it is completely dry. And now I just continue the wash down, adding the reflection on the right side and going as fast as I can to connect the shapes. If the wash is dry, I won't be able to connect the shapes seamlessly. So here I continue to paint the reflection, make sure I leave out some highlights. And as I paint to the bottom, I try to paint around the boat. And like other wash, I try to add different colors within this wash, so the reflection will look more interesting. We have some warmer color, cooler color, and now I try to add some more dark within the reflection because it does reflect some darker part of the overpass above, but I also don't want to make it too complex, so I try to add that wet onto wet. So those dark shapes will show, but they will also sort of blend into the big shape. This huge reflection need to finish in one go, because if I wait for it to dry and paint a second layer on it, it's going to look a little bit too complicated. And the more layer I try to paint on top of each other, the dirtier the painting is going to get. So here I try to wrap it up. Again, adding some more dark values, especially underneath the boat, trying to add some darker reflections. But again, if you squint your eyes, they'll merge into one single shape. And that's the thing, on the first read, you should be able to see the big shape. Only when you look into it, you can start to pick out subtle value changes and colors and stuff. Adding some smaller details, a few dark details, and add some warmer light for the reflection of the lantern. At this stage, I'm trying to wrap up the painting, so add necessary details. are finished. Here's a result of 3+ hours of work, not as fast as AI and maybe not even as good, but it is my painting. I painted with my hand and my heart. I am quite happy with it. I hope you enjoyed that demo. Look, perhaps one day AI will understand people much better. Technology improves day by day. I mean, it is concerning when there are people who use AI to win art competition, create children's book, or sell digital art. As a painter myself, I have to admit, this technology can certain artists, especially when it's utilizing thousands of artists' work on the internet to learn. But I remember something I heard in one of the YouTube videos that said it very well, and I'll paraphrase here. Art is a language. It is visual communication, and just because a robot can speak this language doesn't mean I will stop speaking altogether. I create art because I can. It is my way to record precious memories. It is a way for me to say I love you to my family and friends, and the people I care about. I might never be as skilled as other artists or AI, but I will not let anyone take this enjoyment away from me. I'm Eric from Cafe Watercolor. Hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. I will see you again next time.